Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Brand Ambassador, and we have another fabulous show for you today. I'll give you a hint. We're still in the quilting phase. I would love to know if you're joining the quilt along, because Wendy has done a fabulous job, but she's got a surprise project for you today. This is something a little smaller. I think I could even handle. So pop in, say hi. We are streaming and we are live today on YouTube and Facebook for Brother. Say where you're from. And I already see so many of you joining here, Esther. Thank you, everyone, for being here, Lorraine. And let's bring Wendy to the party. Let me find you, Wendy. Where did you go? Here we go. Sorry. Hey, Wendy, how are you?
Good. How's it going?
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for this project. In fact, I was talking to a couple of my friends and they said, "Are you going to do this quilt?" I go, "Well, I don't know if I'm going to do the whole quilt, but I'm definitely going to use your techniques for fabric, for sleeves, for a jacket." That's first on my list.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You could definitely do that. And I know, like, I've been speaking to one of my friends, and she's also been doing the quilt along as well. And she's kind of changed hers up slightly. So what she did was actually just recreated just only the third block over and over and over again, and turned it into a quilt, which is really cool.
Oh,
So
that would
yeah,
be.
so like there's a yeah, so
I interrupt you, but I cannot tell you. I can't make up my mind what my favorite part is. That quilt sashing you did last week was a game changer. And I think a lot of people who don't quilt a lot, when I look at that, all I'm seeing are these beautiful stars coming out of the corners. I'm thinking, how did you do that? And mathematically in my head, I'm thinking, how did you do that? And then you show it, and it's so simple, but it comes together so beautifully.
hmm Yeah, it's just like just simply adding like four quick corners on each of the sashing strips. It could turn into something totally different, which is actually what I have right behind me. I was actually piecing the borders very last minute as usual, right before the show. And you could kind of just see that there's little sawtooth stars in between or at where the cornerstones and where the sashing is. If you did miss out on last week's class, you could rewatch that and then you could see that little demo on how I added to that or just tweaked a little bit on the pattern that we're following along. But anyway, so with today's show, we're just doing it's like a little bit different. We're actually going to go back to the second week blog post for the quilt along, and we're going to be making the bonus project. And I should be using this because I have my coffee, but we're going to be making these fun little coasters, and you could use recreate these coasters from the scraps or whatever you have left over from your quilt project. So it's a really nice little project to keep in your back pocket when you're done with the quilt behind us. And yeah, so these are made up with just flying geese and they're really quick and easy to come together. So these flying geese are made with the no waste flying geese piecing method, which we explored in week 2 and week 3. So the instructions on how to construct it, as well as the visual content on how to make it, you could go back and rewatch the first and second episode of this quilt along series. So I'm not going to demonstrate to you how to make the flying geese units, but I will demonstrate on how to make these coasters, which are so quick and easy to put together. They make great gifts. So like if you're doing like it's kind of crazy to be thinking about it now, but it is April already. But like if you're making like a holiday like gifting, or if you're going to a friend's place like the last minute and you want to, create something. I mean, these are fun. So let's get started, I guess. All right, so let me just move my
Sounds
coffee at a
good.
safe
I'm
place
very
because
excited
I
for this. I think
feel
this is something small that I could handle in no problem, but I also love little gifts. And you're talking about spring. I'm thinking this would be great for the table at Easter and then give
Mhm.
them to everyone that comes to dinner.
Yeah, I mean, and if you wanted to get really creative as well, you could like always put like a monogram there with your embroidery machine, and then that could be like a place mat kind of thing. Not place mat, but like a placeholder almost.
Right.
So, but
Well,
yes, yeah. So let's get sewing, I guess. So yeah. All right. So I'm gonna bring you over to my desk. So I have already prepared feel like I'm on one of those cooking shows where you're like, okay, and we've already prepared this whole entire chicken. So I prepared these flying geese units. So I prepared the duck already, the geese. Um, so now what I'm going to be doing now is that we've got the four flying geese units, and I'm going to stitch these two together, and I'm going to be stitching these two together. So then that creates kind of almost like the quilt top, but really it's the coaster top that I'm going to be referring to throughout the tutorial. So I'm gonna, oh, you know what? I forgot to wind up my bobbin. Actually, no, I did wind up my bobbin.
Wait, where
Okay.
we said we should not wind the
It'd be-
bobbin.
All right, I wound up the bobbin, which I've done that. Good job. Good job, Wendy. So I'm gonna pop that in, and I'm going to thread my machine. And if you're wondering what machine I'm sewing on today, I am sewing on the Brother BQ3100, which is part of the Quilt Club series. All right. So when I'm stitching these two together, it'll be right sides together, and then I'll be stitching a 1/4 inch seam allowance across the long edge. So I'm gonna scooch my camera a little bit so you can kind of get a little bit of a view of how that may look like when you're stitching. So I'm gonna move the camera slightly. Hopefully you won't get sick while I'm moving.
Oh wait, I'll
Okay.
take you out till you're all finished. Get her all moved so everybody's like, wait, I get. Kathleen, it's great to see you too. I'm glad you were able to catch the live. I know these are so much fun. All right, we're almost
All
set.
all
So
right.
Wendy, somebody new is here and they want to know how they can get the pattern for this. So do you want to just
All
give them a
right.
quick for we've had
Yes.
a couple newbies here.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so over the last, I think we're now up to the tail end of week 5 now. So we've been doing this quilt along the spring serenade quilt behind me, and this is a throw size quilt, great size and a really lovely like sort of addition for your new spring decor. But yes, it's a free pattern. You can download that from our website. There's also I I think you might have that link, Angela, but there's a link as well where you could actually sign up to get the weekly newsletters as well, so that you could get all the updates as well as just kind of like a overview of all the blog posts. Actually, I have the overview link. I might drop that into
Drop that into our
the
chat and I will send it to everyone. So if
yeah,
you're new
that
here,
would
you
be
can
great.
still go get that pattern and you can still go back and watch all of our videos and you'll get Wendy's awesome email as well too. So perfect. So
Y-
yes, you can still
Yeah,
join us, everyone.
yeah, it's not too late. You can join it, like work at your own pace. So the link I just sent is just kind of like an overview of what the quilt along is about, as well as all the links to the brother blog posts that I've written as well that relate back to the quilt along. So you might find some tips or some bonus projects like what we're doing today. We're working on a bonus project that, from one of the blog posts, and the blog post is the week 2 blog post. So, and because the reason why we're doing this, because back then the first quilt block, it really focused on working on the no waste flying geese piecing method. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to explore that, but also like use up the scraps that you have in your stash, as well as not only just the fabric scraps, but also the batting scraps that you have in your stash as well. Because I kind of saved them up too, in the hopes that I'll turn it into something, like we all do.
Perfect.
Um, but anyway, so let's get back onto the sewing machine. So I'm going to piece these together, right sides together, and then the long. I got it. All right, and then I'm just going to lower the needle. All right, and so I've got my needle position set as a 1/4 inch. So hang on, stop. Oh, what is going on? All right, here we go. And then it's going to repeat it on this other one as well. So it would be like that. If you really wanted to, you could also play around with the orientation and whatnot. So I'm just going to do it this way, so they're all facing the same way. The the triangle, oh, the triangles. All right. Here we go. My machine is having a moment. All right, here we go. We'll cut the thread. And I'm just going to remove that. And then now I've got these two, and I'm just going to press this so it looks like that. So I'm going to get my iron and I'll push my machine back a little bit and then press it. So then I've created two coaster tops. So essentially like the top parts of this. So we're going to do that. And you can press it open to one side. It's all entirely up to you. So we've done that. And then I'm just going to set the seams here and also press. Oopsies. Got caught underneath there. Okay, so we've done that. And then I'm going to grab my batting scrap right here. So typically when you're doing a quilt top, a quilt sandwich, you would have the piece of quilt back and then the batting, and then you'd have the quilt top. So then it'll be those three layers. For this particular project, we're going to be kind of doing a two-layer quilt sandwich. So we'd be doing the quilt, the coaster top and the batting. And the reason why is I'm not going to do a binding for this particular coaster, but instead I'm going to sew the back with right sides together. So almost like this, and then I'll have a hole and then I turn it right side out. So then I won't do the binding on this. So that's why we're gonna do the two layers of like a two-layer quilt sandwich and then enclose the raw edges at a later step. So what I normally do, this is a kind of like a quick cheat as well, is I will then place these two coasters and I kind of would line them up. So the center of it and is all kind of matched up. So then once I've basted these two, which I'm going to spray baste in a little second, and then I'm going to actually do a grid quilting on this. And then so instead of actually quilting it individually, going horizontally, I'm going to be quilting it horizontally, these two pieces, these two coasters at the same time. So with one line going across and then another line going across, a line going across. So then that way it saves me time, but also a bit of thread as well, because I'm not stopping and starting it at the end of each seam for each of them, whereas I'm actually going to be doing two at one. That makes sense. So I'm going to quickly spray this. I forgot to get um, a little piece of there. I'm going to put this because I'm spray basting. I'm just going to get a piece of paper to cover up. So, okay, I've got some scrap paper. Just have to make sure that it doesn't get all sticky. So I'm just going to do it on some scrap paper. Get a bit of hair off there. Okay, cool. So I'm going to quickly spray this. And I'm just going to quickly lay this. And again, I'm just going to line it up roughly so that it's all nicely aligned. Okay. There we go. And then I'm just going to get the iron back as well. And I'm going to just apply a little bit of heat onto these, just so that it activates the basting spray. So I'm just going to quickly put a little bit of heat.
I love those colors, Wendy.
Oh, thanks. It's fun to have a bit of a pop of color again. Like this is just from the scrap stash. All right, so then once I've done that, I'm just going to get the Hera marker, which is this tool, this plastic tool with sort of like a flat, sharp edge. Not entirely sharp, but that it would actually damage the fabric. But like it's kind of got that flat thing. And then I'm gonna just mark some quilting guidelines on these. So you know how I mentioned earlier that I'm going to be quilting two of these at the same time. I'm just gonna mark some guidelines. So I'm just gonna, again, this saves time as well because I'm marking guidelines for not just one, but two at the same time. Hopefully you can kind of see it. So you see that marked guide? So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do that for two posters at a time. So again, saves me time. So I'm just gonna quickly mark this. Angela, do you use a hair marker for garment making?
I don't, but I do remember when you showed this before, and I was like, that's the coolest tool ever.
Yeah, it's a fun little one. I'm just gonna, what I'm doing is I'm marking a inch. So there's like a 1 inch sort of parallel line in between each of them. So, and then I'm going to do that vertically as well. Does anyone do like something similar to this where they're like they're quilting out more than one of these, say like coasters at a time, or maybe a throw cushion parts of a throw cushion together, and they're quilting more than one quilt sandwich or coaster sandwich or cushion sandwich at a time?
I like the idea. In fact, Caroline is saying as well, she's like this. She loves how efficient you are with all of the shortcuts. She says,
Oh
I love this
yeah.
and all your tips. I
Yeah,
agree.
it's all about the efficiency, and especially like again, like this makes creating these coasters so quickly if you're trying to put this together at the last minute. So I've done all the markings of this, and I'm going to get my machine closer. And oh, I almost forgot. I need to change my presser foot to a my walking foot, which is the digital Move It foot, which I love because it's got this. This is the walking foot, so the digital Move It foot. I think I've got it right. Um, and what makes this so unique is that sort of like conveyor belt mechanism at the bottom, because it guides the fabric not only from the bottom where the feed dogs are, but also it guides from the top as well. So that's what I love about this. So and then that ensures that all the stitches, the stitch lengths are evenly stitched out. And then it also ensures that, there's no puckering as well as on your final project. So I'm just going to quickly switch this out. And don't forget to plug it in, because I've done it before where I have not plugged it in. And it's like, what is going on? Why isn't that conveyor belt
I
moving?
love this. So I love how you showed how easy it is to change that, because I've had friends that say, "Oh, is that too hard to use?" And it's not a walking foot, because I see somebody saying, "Is it a walking foot?" No, it's a move it foot. It's different. But what she was just saying, it controls the top and the bottom. So you have your feed dogs, and then it controls the top fabric, which is totally different, which is so nice. I guess we should ask Wendy, has anybody ever sewed a seam and then all of a sudden at the end, they're not even at the end? One's shorter than the other. This solves that problem.
Yeah, and then also I found that like if I'm garment making and for example if I'm working with like two different types of like fabrics, or maybe the fabric is stretchy, like I find that I would then switch to a move it foot, just because
Mhm.
that way like I have better control of it, and then my stitches are all nicely evenly spaced, my like garment's not like stretched out that it ends up being like distorting the final look of it, if that makes sense. So it kind of gives that more flat, smooth finish to it. So yeah.
It's wonderful. And the newer foot is a little thinner. I call it the skinny mini. So your fabric doesn't bulk underneath either. So for those that maybe had one of the original ones way back from the Dream Machine, which was a little bulkier, the new one is so thin that you just put on there. It's so fun. So I just want to explain that. I see some people saying here that they love the foot. They love it. They love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the new one. I have
You have
to
it.
find that. I have to
That
have
is
a
the
little
new
search
one.
for it. Do I have it? Oh, I do have the skinny bitty. Okay, all right. So I'm not missing out then. I was like what is going on? All right. So now I'm gonna stitch on the I was getting a little bit FOMO for a second. All right. So I'm gonna stitch on the guides that I've marked just then. And what I love about using the hair marker is that I actually don't use like a pen or a pencil, which then leaves marks sometimes. So I'm gonna, oh, and I'm also gonna change the stitch length from the piecing stitch length, the automatically selected one from like 2 to like 3. That's what I kind of like to stitch on when I'm quilting up. So I'm gonna lower this and start stitching away. Oops, here we go. So I did my first line and I've stitched not just for quilted just one, but I've quilted 2. So I'm going to continue stitching these other 3, and then I'm going to do that on the other side. The line's going the other direction. Oops, here we go. And all the dimensions for this, the flying geese, are all taken from the quilt pattern. So again, that quilt pattern is available for free to download, and you can refer if you forgot the steps on how to make the flying goose, the no waste method, you could always rewatch episode 1 and 2 of the series, or you could just follow what's outlined in the pattern. I remember, let me quickly see what page it is. It's on page 5 of the pattern. So those you just follow the first set of instructions on how to make the flying geese there, then you're all set. And then you could the remainder of the instructions, which I'll be demonstrating today, is on week 2 of the blog post series. Double click. All right, so I've just stitched up my first coaster. If you could see how quick this is coming together. And then I'm going to stitch the vertical lines here. Okay.
Wendy, your machine is so quiet, and I see a couple people saying that machine is so quiet. I agree.
Oh, really? Oh, great.
Super quiet.
I know my dog's napping next to me, so you can tell how quiet it is. And just one more step. I've done all the talking lines here, and then before I actually trim the excess batting around here, what I like to do is actually kind of stitch like roughly like an eighth from an eighth of the raw edge, to kind of secure the coaster top onto the batting, so that it doesn't flap about when you're trimming up the excess batting. And for this, you could always change the stitch length to the bigger ones, so then that way it's a lot faster to stitch it out. And then when I get to this corner, I'm going to
Hold
stitch
on,
all the
I'm
way
gonna
down here.
all the way
So
down here.
that's the
So
beauty
that's
of
the
kind of
beauty of kind of
arranging
arranging
the coaster tops
the
when you're
coaster top
basting
when you're
in
basting
this
in this
these coasters.
these purpose. So simple. Arlene says that is such a quiet machine. I agree. Hey Lois, yes, I'm pretty sure if you go to your brother dealer, you can purchase that new Skinny Mini. It's been out for a couple of years, and it should work on your dream machine. So it's the same plug-in and everything. It's just a little thinner. Your fabric won't bulk, and it works the same way as your old one. So yep, I'm pretty sure. And Linda said it's hard to find on it's hard to find us on Facebook. Hey, Linda, if Facebook ever doesn't cooperate during our live, head over to Brothers Sew's YouTube channel.
All right, so I've just done this. There we go. And now I'm going to trim the excess batting. All right, so I'm going to go back to my desk, and then so I know the dimensions of this is 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. And so I'm going to grab the ruler, and I'm just going to make sure that it's lead the center, and then trim 4.5 inches. Sorry, I'm just going to move the camera slightly so you can see it. So I'm just going to make sure that this is within the 4.5 inches. And this way. And you can see that I'm not going to be trimming all the way here. I'm going to trim the coasters individually. Just sometimes there might be some fabric loss when you're quilting up the coaster top. So I'm just going to measure 4.5 inches here. All right, I'm just going to demo one of these. All right, so I've just trimmed it. Yes, there's a little bit of like batting overhanging here, but it's okay because you know what? We're going to be enclosing that in this step. So um, here we go. So I've already prepared this 4.5 inch square backing. And then what I'll do is I put this on top. And I'm going to pin this in place. It's right sides together. And then when you stitch this, make sure there's like roughly, I'd say like about like a 2 inch gap here, and then reverse stitch at the start and the end of the seam. And then use clip the corners and turn it inside out. So that's what we're going to be doing now. And now, surprise, if you guys have been following along this past few weeks, you had like a little preview of my pin box. I am going to be very honest with you guys, and I have still not cleaned out my pin box or my pin tin. Hello?
Oh, we're here. We're here,
Okay,
Wendy.
cool. All right. I was freaking out for 1 second because I was like, it's really quiet.
No, I'm muting all of the mics. There was a weird echo, someone said, so I'm just muting myself and the other mic. So it's just you
Okay.
on there talking. But
Okay,
the pin
good.
box, I love the pin box.
Okay, good. I was freaking out for one moment. I was like, oh my God, nobody's talking. Did I get cut off? Because I know I was hearing a little bit of a weird echo at my end too. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna move this back. I'm gonna switch back to my J. This is the J foot, I believe. The stand foot. So I'm just gonna switch back so then I could then determine where the 1/4 inch pretty easily as well. So I'm just gonna move this out of the way. It's just comes back to my own habit. uh okay, and the reason why I use this foot again for a lot of piecing or like when I'm sewing a 1/4 inch is because there's this function on the machine where you could press the button and then it automatically moves the needle position. So it's a 1/4 inch away from the right edge of the presser foot. So I'm just going to do that. And so, like I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to leave like roughly like a 2 inch gap. I'll use a pen just so that you could kind of see. where the opening is going to be. So this is the closing and this is the open. Oh, maybe I'll give myself a little bit more extra space. All right, so I'm going to start here and I'm going to reverse stitch at the start. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the raw edge. All right, and then when I get to the corner, I'm just going to reverse stitch once. Maybe I'm just going to get a little bit closer. I thought I was closer to a inch. Okay, here we go. And I get to the corner and I'm going to stitch in. I move this out of the way of the pin. I'm a little bit like to be a bit of sewing a bit of a dangerous sewer, and I sometimes like to stitch over the pin. So all right, and I'm gonna go slightly close there. All right, I'm gonna rotate it. I'll just move it. All right, we're getting close to the end of our stitch. And then okay. Get my scissors, that little thing and cut. So I don't know if you can kind of see. Oh yeah, you can see it. So I've just stitched around like this, and then I'm going to remove all the pins. And before we get to the exciting part of turning it right side out, I'm going to clip the corners here. And just be really careful when you clip the corners because you don't want to get the stitch. All right, so I'm going to clip this corner, and this corner. And if you really wanted to, because there is a bit of bulk from the batting, what you could always do is just kind of trim a little bit more right here to get those really nice pointy corners. And I'm going to do that on this side.
Wendy, Amanda wants to know if you changed your rotary blade from last week.
I did not actually. I did not. And you know what? I was thinking about that this morning and I was like, I should really do that because I've had to like run the rotary cutter like more than once in one area to cut the fabric this morning. So yeah, you got me that. You got me there too. All right, so get ready for this. I am going to turn this right side out and I'm going to use my end of my scissors. I normally have my crochet hook. I also crochet, um, but not as much as quilting though. And I'm just going to poke these corners out. All right, you ready for the reveal? Okay, hopefully you can kind of see it. There's a bit of, there you go. So I've done this. There's this little kind of opening here. And what I'm going to do is kind of like tuck it in. And then I'm just going to grab the iron and then just press it in place. And same with these corners as well. I'm going to press it in place. And then when I'm done pressing it in place, I'm going to just sort of edge a stitch so that way it all stays in place. And then we also close up this hole. So essentially it ends up looking like this. Hopefully you can see, that like pink edge here, like there. So I'm going to heat up my iron again. And then also move my sewing machine aside just slightly. Okay, get my iron mat. Here we go. Bring it back. Has anyone made quilty coasters before? Press.
I have not, but these are so cute. This would be such a great project. And Darlene, you just popped in. We're making coasters. It's bonus time with all of your extra scraps from doing this quilt. So yeah, I know. It sounds like thanks, Anne. Like some people are getting an echo, some people are not. I just want to remind you that if you're watching this on Facebook and YouTube, make sure you're only watching one. That's usually when I get an echo. So I think we're good, but I'll just keep monitoring and do the best I can.
All right, thanks, Angela. Thanks for holding the fort while I'm like stitching away. Anyway, so I've just pressed it in place. Looks nice and crisp. And to finish it off, and then this is the opening. You kind of see I've just tucked those raw edges in there. And then I'm just going to edge stitch it. And I'm going to switch back to my move it foot because I'm going to be going through quite a few layers. I'm be going through like 2 layers of batting plus 2 layers of a little bit more than that, and then also like the fabric there. So I'm gonna just move back to pun intended, to my move it foot. And again, it is so quick and easy to switch it out. So I know it may seem daunting, but we've got this handy dandy tool, which I discovered recently that is the screw thing. The screw thing. I'm sure there's a technical term, but yes, to switch out the foot. And hang on.
That's a good technical term, Wendy. I like that.
I know. I knew why that was not going in because I had the press foot lowered. All right, so I'm going to get the screw thing back and tighten it up. And then make sure you plug it in. And then I'm going to change the stitch length to 0.3 to 3, just because I'm going through several layers. And I'm going to lower the press foot. I've got the opening bit here, so I'm going to just have to reverse stitch a couple of times at the start. And then go. And then I'll reverse it, and then reverse here. Get that nice crisp corner, and then stitch again. One more stitch here. And see how it just doesn't really struggle with like the several layers, which is really nice. And this makes, if you're quilting a big quilt, it does make it very an enjoyable experience. All right, and I've reached the end, so I'm just going to reverse stitch a couple of times. All right, and then da, 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 here's your little coaster. And all you just got to do is just trim the loose threads. But yeah, it looks like this on the back. There you go. So you have your little coaster, and then you'd have like a little bonus second coaster as well because you have 4 at a time flying geese. So
I love it. I love it. Okay, so there is a couple questions for you while you're up here. Everybody's saying very nice, so cute. Caroline loves the colors. I do too. So, Anne wants to know: does the Move It Foot work on all Quilt Club machines? You know what, Anne? I don't know for sure. I am going to say I probably yes, but how you can tell is if you go to Brothers website, brotherusa.com, and go. There's a whole section for the Quilt Club and you can see which ones have. It's called the Digital Dual Move It Foot. So just check which one has that. So that will help you there. But here's the question for you. Lorraine wants to know, do you have any tips for choosing the colors of the quilt? I bought 8 colors of blue, both light and dark, but my brain is having, Lorraine, is your brain fried after all that? I can understand that.
tips of choosing colors. I guess like what I kind of generally do is I think about like where is this quilt going to be? Where is it going to be? Where are you going to place it? How are you going to use it? Who's going to be the recipient? Are you going to be using it? So I kind of start off with that, and then I can then I guess like if you're, for example, I'm just going to grab this card break that colors from that print
There
in
we go.
there, and
Hey,
then that
Wendy,
somehow
I'm
kind
so
of then
sorry, but uh,
meshes together. Oh yeah.
your mic went out.
Oh, my mic went
So
out.
I just brought
Okay.
it back up. And
Okay.
just repeat
All
that.
right. Okay, so let's say, okay, so I'm going to repeat the whole thing again. So how I choose fabrics for my project is I think about like how the quilt is going to be used and where is it going to be used? Like, is it going to be put in your living room? What sort of colors are in your living room, as well as sort of um, like who the recipient is, or like is it yourself, and like what sort of colors do they like, what the decor is going to be, and whatnot. And then, like, say for example, another way that I could choose colors is like, if I really like a particular print, I choose colors based around that hero print that I really like. So for example, these are the colors that I used for the first sample of the quilt, of the Spring Serenade quilt. And then so I this is like the background fabric. I really like this. And then I just kind of pick colors from this print, which you could kind of see that, or like complement this print, which you can kind of see across here as well. So those are kind of other ways that I've picked fabrics. And then in terms of like what where do I place it on the quilt? So sometimes like I like to use like contrasting colors sometimes, or like a pop of color here and there, just so kind of like then sort of highlight some sort of like features of a quilt design. So for example, if you're looking at the quilt behind me, I'm just trying to make sure I'm doing it the right way. No, this way, this way. So you can see behind me, um with the satin strips, which are the white fabrics, like I wanted to choose like that would provide more contrast, so that it kind of helps highlight the or frame the individual quilt blocks behind me. And then you can kind of see like again like just some of the highlights, like with the white triangles here and here, like that's why I choose like some contrasting colors. And that same goes with like just the pops of color as well. Like you just kind of want something to create some contrast, or just something unexpected, so that your eyes can like, kind of follow, but then it still creates a sense of balance as well. So I guess that's kind of how, in a nutshell, would choose fabrics.
I love that. I love that. You know what? I love that you sewed those samples right to that card. That's a great way. I always use glue or something, but how quick to just sew them on there real quick.
Yeah, well, I kind of cheated, and what I did was I glue basted these individual squares and then stitched it on top. And what I did was I kind of used like a thick card. So yeah, so I did like I glued basted. You could just use like craft glue, nothing fancy. I just use craft glue and then just stick it on there. And then if you really want to be like super technical, like I'm gonna get another card from last year's quilt along. Don't know if you guys were also part of the quilt along last year, but if you wanted to be really technical, you could always just add like the name of the fabric as well. So like if you really like a particular fabric, or like you forgot and you need to order more, or you messed up, like you could always refer to this and then order that particular color or whatever that you need. So this is, yeah, handy, keeps everything organized, but also it's just like a really nice keepsake as well as you're creating. So, and you can kind of look
Yeah.
back and you're like, oh wow, like I did this in 2023, I did this in 2025 or something. So it's a nice keepsake.
Well, this so long has been so much fun. I hope you're already planning for 2026 because everybody loves
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
So
I gotta start thinking about
today,
the new calls. Yeah.
yeah, today was a bonus for you all with these coasters. I love this quick, easy project using your scraps. Or if you're new to quilting, it's a great place to start. I mean, how fun is that? So
Yeah.
we have one more episode coming up with Wendy, and that will be next week. And we're going to be using the sketch, and you're going to be making custom labels. Is that right?
Yeah. Fun times. Yeah, I'm really excited to
That's
share
right.
that.
Everybody.
Yeah, we are going
Oh,
to be
that's
making little custom labels. I can give you a little quick preview. But yes, we're gonna be making this together. And then you can put this on the back of your quilt. So you could add that to the back of your spring Serenade quilt or any other quilt that you have. So yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. So you can still leave your comments and questions. Even if you're watching the replay, we try to monitor. Brother Social will let us know if there's a question we can't answer. And again, some of you are asking, I see more asking about the digital dual move it foot. Just go to brothersews.com and check if your machine, it would have come with your machine if you purchased it. If it would have come with your machine if it works with your machine. So that's one big thing. But if you're trying to find a machine that has it, just go to Brother Sews and check with your local dealer. They'll know. They know all the technical stuff, right?
Yeah.
All right. This is so much fun. All right. Well, thanks everyone for watching. We're so excited that you're here. I'm really looking forward to next week's show with the handmade. So do you have to have a sketch for it? No, you could have any embroidery machine, but I can't wait to see this because a lot of people have that machine, Wendy.
Yes, it's so much fun. I love it.
So much fun. Well, to end that, I'm going to show you some of the Disney features on the Avenir, and we will see you on the next live show. Until then, happy sewing. Bye.
See ya.